This is Tuesday, the 13th of October. Recording this around 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time in the U.S. And this morning, I'm going to take a look at the British Pound again. I've been talking about the British Pound quite a bit, and in several recent videos. And we had a slew of reports regarding the British Pound this morning. I think it was 4:30 a.m. And you can see the intraday pattern here for all the British Pound pairs, very bearish. So let's flip over to that and take a look at a few of those. First up, one that I mentioned recently was British Pound versus the Aussie. The Aussie is also kind of weak this morning, so we see a little bit of a 4-hour Kopit curve cross up here. One of the things to notice, though, about that Kopit curve is the degree of the Kopit curve here on the 4-hour chart, but the relative lack of rise in price. So we have a price Kopit curve divergence here on the 4-hour charts, with the 4-hour Kopit curve being below the 16-hour Kopit curve up in here. So I'm looking for that for a fresh crossover on the British Pound versus the Aussie to go ahead and get back into that pair short. Other ones that I've mentioned recently that did very well last night in the big move down and still continue to show bearish divergence. British Pound versus the Japanese Yen, with also the 4-hour Kopit curve being below the 16-hour Kopit curve. And you can see on the daily chart here where the Kopit curve is starting to show a fresh crossover here. I've been talking about overhead resistance on this pair for at least a week, and also the British Pound versus the US dollar, a very similar situation where I talked about overhead resistance here on the daily Kumo, and we have a fresh Kopit curve crossover very close to happening here on the daily chart, on the daily Kopit curve. Again, 4-hour Kopit curve below the 16-hour Kopit curve, and bearish divergence here on the 4-hour chart. So one thing to notice also on Ichimoku analysis is that when we have a thin Kopit curve as we do, a thin Kumo as we do here on this 4-hour Kumo, let me kind of broaden that up so you can see it better, then that sort of invites price through that thin area, because you can think of it as minimal resistance to price. So a good opportunity there for price to continue crossing down as this daily Kopit curve crosses over, and the bearish 4-hour Kopit curve continues as well. We've had a long period of consolidation here after those big moves begin. I'm looking for that to continue lower. I don't know if it'll be debate today at some point, but I am looking for that to continue lower. Other pairs, of course, that we can look at: British Pound versus the New Zealand dollar. Also had a little bit of a push back up as the New Zealand dollar weakened slightly. But you can see we're coming right up to the 0 line, the trigger line here on the Kopit curve, and debating that line as I speak, as price continues to move back down on that pair as well. So we look for that to continue lower as well. So that's the report on British Pound versus the New Zealand dollar. Again, very bearish lookout this morning on the charts, in my opinion, and would expect to continue to see price move lower on all those pairs I just mentioned. Hope you have a good day of trading.